Hello, this is Phil Fallwave. Tonight I wanna talk about Asceticism by Violent Shogun, released via his own imprint. It's a C60 and it's packed full to the brim with noise vignettes, very surreal and obscure mini compositions, basically, that feel a little like a dia show, basically, especially the first side. It's very loop heavy. So you got a lot of reoccurring textures in these single compositions. As I mentioned already, it all sounds very surreal. There is not really or at least to me, a clear narrative, a clear through line through the whole thing. It's more an accumulation of moments and little sessions, little glimpses into the work of Violent Shogun, and but it's packed in a very compelling way that basically each segment is connected in a very natural manner, not even like interlude-like, but it all feels organically connected to each other. And also what I find very fascinating about that first side specifically is that the amplitudes between these vignettes, how I call them, they are not too drastic. So it all feels coherent. These 30 minutes flow really easy. It's very easy to listen to, not in a derogative way, more in a there's constantly stuff happening. And even these so-called mini compositions, these vignettes, they always have a narrative arc. They're not really a narrative arc, they always have a build-up, and there's constantly stuff changing and moving within these moments. And it never feels like the artists are just cutting them off after a moment, which you might think with the sheer amount of compositions they pack into, especially the first side of the tape. It all feels really organic and effortless, and the noise itself is extremely well curated and performed. You got all sorts of information coming through. It's very loop heavy, so you got a lot of familiar tones and textures being recontextualized in a loop environment, that are being manipulated in various manners. You got your very physical, be it metal or wooden noise, basically, that are or seem to be performed either live or being used as a loop as well. You got your harsh noise segments that feel very very heavy in the mid-range, basically like this very basically sounds like wind howling and wind beating against the eardrums. And yeah, out of these textures and information, Violent Shogun creates a very compelling and exciting mood board. Basically, it feels like a mood board a little bit, and it's very breezy for me, at least. It's a joy to just have it on and just to be about your day, but it also has a lot of payoff if you just pay a little closer attention to these moments. Yeah, first side kicks ass. Side B of the tape basically uses a similar style of let's call it sequencing, for the lack of a better word, in that there are still these segments that come in a rather quick succession, especially given that the second side also is just 30 minutes, so there's basically a lot of stuff happening in there as well. It's just a little more not tone wise and not texture wise, but the composition wise, it's a little more mellowed out. It's a little cleaner in execution, in a way that everything flows a little more into each other. There's the amplitude, which already was not too harsh on the first side, you know, where you had these segments and then you had the segues, basically. They've flowed into each other really well already. Now everything feels a little more even, a little more ambient to a certain degree. The textures are somewhat more foreign, let's call it that. It's a little less percussive. The loops especially are a little less percussive. They are a little more drenched in some more production, in some more manipulation, sound manipulation. There are a couple of outbreaks of harsh noise, and after, like right at the middle of the second side, of the B side, there's basically a cut where the artist delves a little, what feels like, into some power electronics, some synthesized textures come in, or at least it feels like it. It gets a little more darker in tone. All in all, you know, I didn't really get a vibe, like a certain image in my head, but that was the moment, basically, you know, where the environment and the vibe thickened a little, and the side ends in some field recordings of, you know, some koto or gagaku piece, like Japanese folk music arrangement at the end. And the overall vibe of the second side was not drastically different. It was just different in execution on how the arrangement was done. And overall, I gotta say, I love that tape. very compelling. I like the arrangement of these mini compositions, that there is so much stuff happening in these 60 minutes. And 60 minutes sounds like a long time, and it certainly is, but there's so much texture, arrangements, ideas, and they are all executed so well, each of them, and they are all arranged and sequenced in such a breezy, effortless, cool manner, that this will definitely be a listen I will put on more often in the future. But besides fanboying about the tape too much, the only criticism I might have is I don't know, because the tape is called Asceticism, and if in case there might be some spiritual image that the artist tried to convey, I didn't get much of it. There wasn't really an image, there wasn't really a narrative, overarching narrative idea I got, because the dynamics and the storytelling of the tape itself just went more in a different direction for me, in that it was constantly just dishing out killer compositions. And if there was an intent to convey an image or a story, I guess the tape would have needed much more room to breathe, and these segments, these compositions, may have needed a little more time to breathe. But other than that, if this is just hypothetical, because for me and for what I in that moment got out of the tape, it was just perfect for me. It was just perfect for me. So yeah, here you go. Thank you, Violent Shogun, and thank you for watching. Bye.